Hiya, I'm Jasper, and welcome to your video review for Zack Snyder's Justice League. As always, I'm going to give you the good, the bad, and the furry. So, to start off with, the furry, really isn't any. I mean, even the parademons now are a little bit more mechanical than anything, so, yeah, not really a whole bunch of furry. Moving on. I mean, I guess there's horses that the Amazonians ride, but that's kind of about it. So, moving on to the good and the bad. So this movie stars the same people from Justice League, so hopefully you're familiar with all of these rather famous people at this point. I'm not going to list them all. But what this is 2017, Justice League came out, and people were not as big of a fan of it, and they were like, release the Snyder Cut. So my understanding is that they'd finished principal photography, and this was a 4-hour movie. But Zack Snyder's daughter died, so he, understandably went off to go take care of that, and things weren't completely finished, so DC was like, Joss Whedon, you do good stuff with Marvel, make this good too. I don't know who wanted it really short, if it was Joss Whedon or the studio. My guess is the studio. But he had to cut it down quite a bit from a 4-hour movie to the 2 and however many hours it was in for his version. And the funny thing is that when I first watched the original Justice League, I didn't know that whole story, and I also didn't know that Joss Whedon has anything to do with it. But as I was leaving the theater, I was talking with who I went with, and I was like, that seemed like they had a lot of like Joss Whedon-esque quips in there. Like, they had the funny little one-liners and the asides and the like. And what do you know? He had a big hand in it. So I'm a big fan of Joss Whedon generally. I liked his work with the movies, and I super liked Firefly and Buffy and all that jazz. So like he's done some good work. But DC, the studio, needs to understand that DC is not Marvel. Marvel can be happy and chipper and all that jazz. DC is darker, and they need to embrace that like they did just now. Because they did this with Batman v Superman. They had what was an excellent movie, and they cut it down for theaters, and the theater cut of Batman v Superman was garbage. Just garbage. I hated it. It felt like it was 9 hours long. But I watched the director, or the extended, or the whatever you want to call it, the super extended cut, which was longer, but so much better, and it felt shorter. And they should have released that one, because it explains all of the problems with Batman v Superman. Same thing with this movie. They should have just released the Snyder Cut to begin with. Yes, it was 4 hours, but they could have just done a part 1, part 2, or had a break, or whatever. There was many things that they could have done other than shortening it down and completely changing everything. So this movie was excellent. It was 4 hours long, but it did not feel like 4 hours, which is an important thing with a 4-hour movie. It's on HBO Max right now, so you can watch it, pause it at your heart content. It's kind of divided into sections, like it's like part 1, blah, 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 part 2, blah, 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 part 3, blah, blah. So, like, if you see, when it gets to a new part, just pause it, go have a snack, take a bathroom break, whatever. But this movie is excellent. It makes it so that the Justice League is actually needed. Like, in the original cut, it was just, Batman, as usual, felt pretty useless, and it was like, okay, why can't Super Speedy Guy do this? Why does he care about whatever was happening with the car? Like, none of that mattered. This was all a bunch of nonsense. But in this one, everybody had a purpose, and everybody felt like they were needed genuinely. Even Batman, surprisingly. So this movie just fixes all those problems. It actually has heart. You care about the characters. There are still like a couple of funny bits, but it's not Whedonized funny bits, if you will. So I liked it, and I highly recommend that you not only watch this extended version, but if you gave up on Batman v Superman, you should also watch the extended version of that, because I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. That being said, I am a little biased because I like Zack Snyder films, like 300, one of the greatest movies ever made. So I like how Zack Snyder does movies. So I'm hoping that, if he does more movies for DC or whoever in the future, they just trust in the Zack Snyder to do his thing, because it's going to be good if you just let him do it. So yeah, with this one, CGI was better. I didn't find the CGI in the old one all that distracting, but I definitely did think that the villain was actually interesting this time around. In the first one, he was like, I did not understand. I'm not a big DC guy. I've never really done comics for DC or Marvel, anything like that. So I was still at the end of the movie kind of confused about the mother boxes, like what was with them in the original cut. In this one, it was very clear what the mother boxes were for, what they were doing, and the villain actually had like inspiration. It wasn't just like, I'm gonna be evil. He was like, he wanted to, he'd been, just watch it. I don't want to spoil that part for you, so just check it out. Things make sense, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Hope you do too. Let me know what you thought if you've seen it in the comments below. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye.